All right. Welcome to tonight's meeting. We appreciate you guys taking time out and joining us for this. We have these about twice a year just to roll out any updates that we may have. And this is the easiest way for us to do that mass update and other information that we need to get out to you. So you'll be hearing from myself. For those that don't know me, I'm Amanda Trainer. I'm the broker supervisor. There's my real face. Broker supervisor here in the self-direction department. You'll be hearing from Heather Zerbel, the fiscal intermediary, as well as Elise Ottaway, one of our brokers. If you have questions, you can pipe in and unmute yourself, but for the duration of the meeting, I ask that you keep yourself on mute unless you're asking a question. There is also the chat box option, and I have Alicia and Ryan managing that. So they'll be able to respond to any questions you may type in there, and that's in the bottom of your screen for those that want to use the chat option. And when you type in to ask a question, I have dual screen going here with the slideshow. So if you could just introduce yourself so we know who is talking, that would make things a lot easier on our end. And lastly, Alicia may be sending you a message on the chat just to confirm who you are, because she doesn't know everybody because she's taking attendance. So if you could keep an eye out for that as well. So I am going to get started. Can everybody see the Liberty Resources Self-Direction staff meeting slide? Carrie Hood, could you shake your head yes or no? Perfect, I can see you. So, all right. Heather, take it away.
All right, again, welcome everybody. I'm Heather Zerbel, the fiscal intermediary, and it's nice to see all your faces, even if it is just over Zoom. We're just going to go over some updates quickly. The first one is just about the cancellation policy. Some of you may not even be aware of this, but it was recently discontinued. If the person you work with cancels their shift basically on that day or without any notice, you may use PTO if you have any to supplement, or you may reschedule the shift, but we no longer have the policy where you're compensated. The next thing I want to talk about is sick time. So all employees are now eligible for sick time. There was an act that was passed last fall. So all employees, even if you're per diem, you're accruing sick time that you may use. And this is available for you to review. You can see what your balance is, how much you have available through Dayforce, but you have to go in through the computer to see that. You won't be able to see it on the Dayforce app. In addition, if you want to use sick time, you will have to manually enter it through Dayforce, or you can reach out to your broker and they can add it for you as well. Also, when it comes to using sick time, you may be requested to obtain a doctor's note. That's on a case-by-case basis. The situations are reviewed. So I wanted to make you all aware of that. And if for any reason you're going to be out of work for more than a week due to medical reasons that prevent you from working, you're going to let us know, and we may also have you reach out to Human Resources. That is something that they have to be aware of and keep track of. The next item is the securities training. So we have all been asked to take a one-time training in regards to basically cybersecurity. We need to complete that by mid-September, and that is in Relias. We understand some of you may not have access to Relias right now, and we'll talk more about that later in the meeting. But wanted to make you aware that several years ago, there was basically a security breach with our email system. So we all need to be mindful of how we can prevent that from happening again. All right, the last item as far as updates is that you may be able to get reimbursed for mileage when you are taking your individual to or from a medical appointment. Some of you are aware this has gone back and forth and changed over the years. What you're going to do is you're going to follow up with your broker if you are planning on taking the person you work with to any kind of appointment, physical therapy, dentist, anything of that nature, to find out if you qualify. If you are eligible, then the broker is going to train you on how you will enter that in eVero to ensure that you get paid correctly.
All right, thank you. Any questions on it? No questions? Good. Switching gears, I'm going to talk about indirect time. Indirect time is something that you would clock in for when you need to be paid as a Liberty employee, but you are not providing face-to-face service for your individual. Examples of that are right now during this staff meeting, you're being paid as a Liberty employee, but you're not providing direct service to your individual. So we need to categorize that differently in the eVero app. Other examples of that are when you're meeting with the broker one-on-one for whether it be training or meeting to discuss the care for your person that you provide, and when you're completing your Relias trainings. Other times that you would use indirect time is for medical appointments or during life plan meetings. If you happen to be providing service during a life plan meeting or while they're in a medical appointment, we need you to switch to the indirect time. The reason for that is your person's services and medical appointments, they use their Medicaid insurance for those appointments, as well as for ComHab or respite services. So we need to avoid the double billing error that could occur. So if a life plan meeting is occurring during your service time, the broker may ask you and will ask you to switch to indirect time. And you would do that right through the eVero app. I do have a how-to video, but it wasn't working for our last staff meeting. So we're going to email that out after the meeting this evening. So you can refresh yourself on that and save that for future reference. Another important thing about indirect time is when you're punching in, there's a comment box. We need you to be using that comment box to communicate to us why you would be using the indirect time. That way we can confirm that it was a life plan meeting or you were completing Relias trainings. If the comment box is left blank, then we will be reaching out to you to confirm what that indirect shift was for. Next, we're going to talk about reviewing life plans, staff action plans, and IPOPs. So as a DSP, you're required to review your person's important documentation at least twice a year, and that coincides with their life plan review meetings. You are also required to review these documents should something change in them and a new document is drafted. You would be doing this through the eVero app, and I'll show you a screenshot in the next slide. But you are required to review these documents before providing service. Some of you may have already seen the alert in the eVero app that says, you know, you need to enter, or you need to review rather, so-and-so's life plan before you can clock on. That is a safety feature in the eVero app that we have taken advantage of. So like I said, those documents could be updated minimally and twice a year at their 6 months review. But sometimes those documents change in between those life plan meetings and we have to upload new documents. So when the brokers are uploading new documents, we will then reach out to you to let you know, hey, so-and-so has a new life plan or staff action plan to review. Please go in and review that before your next shift with them. So as I said, these documents are available to you on the eVero app. And for those of you that have been doing this line of work for quite some time, there was a time period we would be carrying around folders and binders full of all this important information for easy reference. Well, now it's become even easier with the eVero app. These documents are quite literally at your fingertips, and it makes it nice for you that you don't feel like you have to memorize these documents. So even though you reviewed it 3 months ago, and you forget what kind of support Bobby needs when in the pool, you can look up in his iPop and see what kind of support he needs. So those documents are there for your reference. So this is the screenshot where you would find those important documents. So when you're in the Evero app, you go to the little gray dude in the upper left-hand corner, and a menu drops down. You would click on Staff Dashboard, and then you would see this screen. Where the red arrow is pointing, you can see those are all of the documents that I need that are pending my review. So you can see the staff action plan, the IPOP, which is the individual plan of protective oversight, life plan, and safeguards. I do want to let you know that we're in the process of switching from our safeguards template to our IPOP template. They're essentially the same document. We're just going with a little bit different format. So you may see both options, or both lines rather, listed on your screen. And your broker will be able to tell you which version you'll be using for the time being. So the IPOP will be taking over the safeguards. Heather, do you want to discuss Evero updates?
Okay, so we do have a scheduled update that is going to occur on August 29th from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Right now, they're telling us there should not be any disruption with the app, but we still want to make you aware that it's occurring. As many of you are aware, there have been several Evero app updates since we have launched this software. And that is something that's going to continue to occur. As with any software, they just have to keep up with increasing and advancing all of the features. So wanted to thank you guys for your patience with that. Many of you have been really great with including and working through the issues and kind of learning what was successful for you, and then it works again the next time. You've also been communicating really well with your brokers per the self-direction documentation policy, and letting us know as a team, you know, when you need additional help, when you have had issues with the app, clocking on, things like that. So thank you for that. And just a reminder that that feature, leaving a comment, is available to you guys when you are clocking out. You can leave a comment and we get a little bubble before we approve and review your time in Evero. And that's a very helpful way to communicate with us as well. Okay, so this next topic is review for us. Back in February, when we had our last meeting, we touched on a lot of new information, talking about EVV and billable units. So we want to highlight and review that. So billable units are 15-minute increments when you are working face-to-face with your individual. So that is how we're able to bill Medicaid and get reimbursed from what we pay you guys. So we need you to be mindful on the Evero app before you're clocking out, when it gives you that countdown, if you only need to work a few more seconds or even a few more minutes to hit the next billable unit. So our first example here, if you look at the last two columns on the right, we have 4 hours and 30 minutes and then 4 hours and 44 minutes. So we missed that unit of billing in the column all the way to the right by about 36 seconds. So that is just funds that Liberty has to basically eat, and we're not able to bill Medicaid for that. So we're asking everybody to be mindful of those units before you're clocking out. The next thing I want to review is the EVV requirements. So back in January 1st, EVV was launched, and just a refresher that this is basically nationwide, any services that are funded by Medicaid require this. So our respite and our COMHAB services across the board have to meet the EVV requirements. So electronic visit verification. And there are 7 components that have to be met. And these are all met through the Evero app. So I want to review those. Number 1, the individual that you're working with. Number 2, the name of the DSP, the program that you're working in, so either respite or COMHAB, the time in and the time out of your shift, the start address and the end address. So anytime that we alter or edit or are missing one of those 7 components, we no longer meet that EVV requirement. So we are encouraging everybody to be mindful of that. And it is at this point your responsibility to do your best to always be working and meeting the EVV requirement. The next thing I want to touch on is sometimes you have missed maybe a clock out. Maybe you've forgotten to put a goal in, something of that nature, and a broker reaches out to you to get that information so that we ensure you get paid. The deadline for that per the policy is the Friday at the end of the pay period. So if we don't have the information to make the correction, you will get paid, but it may be delayed payroll and you may see that shift in the following pay period. So we just want to reiterate that we need to have all of those corrections by the last day of the pay period, which is every other Friday. On that same note, we are presenting disciplinary memos at this point, and that is for folks that have been repeatedly not meeting the EVV requirement and have had retrainings multiple times. So that's also why we wanted to have this refresher so you understood the importance. When you do get a memo, it is also presented to the family or the individual you work with, since we are co-employers and they need to be aware of your status. And at the end of your shift, you have that option to be showing the family or individual to sign off on the shift and basically authorize it. It is best practice to get this signed and initialed before you clock out, but if for some reason you're unable to or you forget to, it is okay. You do not need to clock back in and have that done. All the families have access through their own Evero family portal, and they can review all the shifts that you work.
Thank you, Heather. So I'm going to talk about shifts that go over the 12 a.m. mark, so midnight. So if for some reason you feel like your shift may clock or may run over past midnight, you know, you guys are at a comedy show or you're at a movie or a concert and there's a chance that your shift could go over midnight, there is a way for you to clock in and not have to worry about it and think about it. Evero is a very smart program, sometimes too smart, but the screenshot you see on your screen right now, when you go to clock in for service, if you select the reason and you do the drop-down menu, there's a direct service overnight option. This will let Evero know when the clock strikes midnight to clock you out at 11:59 and clock you back in at 12 a.m. for the new day. It might be one shift for you, but for Evero, going over midnight means that it's a new day and we need to track that differently. If for some reason your shift does not go past 11:59 p.m. and you clock out at 11:30, but you use the direct service overnight option, you don't have to worry. It's not going to mess anything up. Evero is going to know that your shift ended at the time that you clocked out and you have nothing to worry about. We have found that with the nicer weather, minus the rain, some of you are out enjoying some activities that go extended into the evening and sometimes the overnight, and that's fine. We encourage that, We just wanted you to know that this was an option for clocking in and clocking out. Elise, do you want to talk about documentation?
Sure. So I first want to talk about staff activity fees and the importance of making sure that those staff activity fees have a description. And the description should be related back to a valued outcome. So for example, if somebody has a healthy choice valued outcome and you guys are out to eat, you as the staff should also be making healthy choices as being the role model. And you'll just want to note that in the description box. I'm also going to talk about documentation for ComHab services. So this is for people who work on goals with their individuals. Anybody who participates in respite, this does not apply to you. So just a couple reminders when you're documenting for ComHab, when you are putting in the prompting levels, you want to make sure that you're working on the goal once per day. So if somebody has a physical activity goal, you've worked on that several times throughout the day, you're just going to document it on the one time. We want to make sure that you guys are reviewing those staff action plans in detail. Amanda said earlier on the dashboard where you can access those plans, it's really important that you're looking at the staff method to make sure that you're documenting accordingly. If you can try and work on every single goal throughout the month, we would appreciate it. If there are goals that you're unable to work on, such as maybe a volunteer goal, make sure you document that in your monthly summary. In the comment section, we'd really like to see some good details in there. We know you guys are doing a lot and we want you to have credit for your hard work. So if you could just make sure you include, your staff action and then the individual response. So what you had to do as the staff to prompt the person to complete their goal. Just a reminder about monthly summaries too, is that those are due by the 5th of the following month. There's some examples here on goals. So you'll see here the first example is about a healthy lifestyle. So it talks about when John went to the YMCA, clearly outlines what staff did, and then John's response. If you guys have any questions about your staff action plans, goals, documenting, please reach out to your broker.
Thank you, Elise. Next, I want to talk about the Liberty Resources email migration. So we are very well aware that a lot of you do not have access to your Liberty email at this time. The agency is in the midst of switching from Outlook email server to Microsoft 365, and the migration has become very overwhelming and troublesome for our IT department. Our IT department consists of 2 gentlemen who are working their tails off to migrate over our 1,400 employees that are employed through the entire agency. So they are working in overdrive right now to try to get everybody switched over. Because this migration has brought on so much work and headache, Liberty has decided to outsource some of the work to an outside agency called ACC Tech. We are aware of everybody who does not have access to their Liberty email. So we are going to be giving that list of people to ACC Tech, and they will be reaching out individually to help you. We are not equipped, nor do we have the knowledge to walk you through this migration. Everybody on the self-direction team has had trouble themselves with this migration, so we're relying on the experts here. So you may receive a call from one of the 2 numbers on your screen right now. The first is an ACC Tech number, 315-484-4500, or it could pop up as a Liberty Resources number, 315-425-1004. My advice to you is don't take the call unless you have the time and resources to sit and figure it out with them right then and there. If they don't reach you, they'll leave a voicemail with a number to best call them back on. And you should call them at your earliest convenience to get that figured out. We have dealt with some of the ACC techs, and they've been very helpful, very knowledgeable, very patient. So just hang in there and we'll get everybody switched over. Because you guys can't access your Liberty email, or those that can't, that will also prevent you from being able to access your Relias trainings on or through the SharePoint website, because you need to log in with your email credentials. So we are aware of that situation. So there may be a period of time where you can't log in and complete your trainings. We appreciate your diligence to get those done, but we ask that you sit tight and we wait and get through this together. We also wanted to let you guys know, we understand that we constantly harp that you got to check your Liberty email, check your Liberty email. Well, now there's no email to check. So our expectation in this time is we are going to beef up our efforts to communicate with you guys as employees, and we will be doing that through phone calls or reaching out to your personal emails, which I think is how you guys received this evening's invite. So we will have patience with you, and we ask for that same in return. Any questions on the email migration? Remember to unmute yourself and introduce yourself. Okay, you're a quiet group tonight. Next, I wanted to introduce the Facebook DSP group that we have going on. So it's been made clear over the years in self-direction that it would be really nice for there to be a platform or an opportunity to share great ideas amongst DSPs. You can see here tonight, there's roughly 42 people on this meeting. There were 45 people on this morning's meeting. So we're flirting with 100 different DSPs out there providing service, and you guys could be passing like ships in the night and not even know you're out there. So we wanted you guys to have an opportunity to share things and activities, places that you guys go and have fun. So we wanted you guys to have that platform. And the reason for that is to provide activities and opportunities for your folks that you support, to give them exposure to new and different opportunities, as well as a chance to socialize and network with like-minded folks that have similar interests. So there is a policy on this. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but the gist of the policy is just because this is a Facebook group on social media, we still have to follow HIPAA compliance measures. So at this time, you're not allowed to post pictures of your individual in this group. We also ask that you don't share any HIPAA sensitive information such as their last name, diagnosis, where they live, medications, anything like that. We're not sharing that on the page. I've already said we're not sharing any photos. Now, that's not to say if you went to the art club today and you made, some cool art project and you wanted to post that to kind of gain interest, you can post a picture of the project. You just can't post a picture of the individual. This group is heavily monitored. So only Liberty employees are allowed into the group, and all the posts have to be authorized before they are posted to the feed inside of the group. But again, we just wanted this to be a way for you guys to share different ideas and activities, things happening out there. By no means am I saying you have to have a Facebook page to be employed. This is completely voluntary. If you don't want to sign up for it, that is okay. We respect that. But if you are interested, if you search the group name Liberty Resources Self-Direction DSPs, that is the photo, the screenshot there is the photo that pops up, and you can ask to join and see the different things going on. So if you stumble upon anything new, or you guys have a regular spot you go to, I know everybody's looking for, cheap, fun things to do and getting creative. That's a nice resource for you to rely on. Next, we'd like you to save the date. Next Wednesday, the 25th from 2 to 4, we're gonna have some ice cream treats here at the Glacier offices at 6723 Towpath Road. We would love to see you guys drop in, whether you have service and you have your individual, they are welcome to come along. Or if you're off, but you're in the area and you want to swing by, you're also welcome. We would love to have a little sense of normalcy and see people and visit. So we invite you to come check out our new offices. There's a nice patio here on the water, and just visit and have a little normalcy in our lives. If you think of it, please RSVP to your broker. And if you do come, it's never determined whether the doors are locked or unlocked at the front of the building. So if you can't get in, please reach out to your broker, and we'll try to send someone out. We're going to try to have somebody standing at the front door, but because the office isn't used as regularly, the doors aren't always open. So we would love to see you next week. Hopefully it's not raining. And that's pretty much it for today's meeting. Just some brief updates happening. Don't forget to clock out before you leave so that you get credit for being here. But I will open it up to any questions, things that you have thought of that we covered tonight or haven't covered. You guys can chime in and ask away. All right.
Got two things, guys, everybody. Before you guys all log off, we have one person with just an iPhone label. We don't know who you are. Andrea? Okay. Andrea on iPhone Sparkle Fairy, we need to know who you are. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
All right. You guys are free to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.